Good morning, Sally Pepper with you till 1 o'clock. Now, the outfits worn by the royal family have fascinated many, from the Queen's rainbow coats to the Duchess of Cambridge's tiaras. But fans of the royals will have noticed that they've never seen Prince George in a Spider-Man t-shirt or Catherine in a tracksuit. There are etiquette rules governing what members of the royal family wear to public engagements, from wearing gloves or not, to military uniforms and skirts instead of jeans. So when should the Queen wear a hat, and why does Prince George always wear shorts? Never looks happy in those shorts either, have you noticed? I think we'd get a much bigger smile from Prince George if he had got some kind of Marvel hero emblazoned on the front of his t-shirt. Bless him. Grant Harold is the man who knows it all, though. He's a former royal butler and he runs an etiquette school in London as well. And it's always lovely to talk to him. Good morning, Grant.
Good morning, Sally. Thank you for having me back on.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have you on. And as soon as we saw this article, I went, we have to get Grant on the show because he knows everything. Now, first question, right? Tell me, I want the honest answer. Does the Queen and Prince Philip, do they wear shell suits behind the scenes?
I hope not. And I think if certainly we saw in the news tomorrow them in the garden wearing shell suits, I think I wouldn't be able to cope. I think I'd have to go and buy some smelling salts if I suddenly came across something like that. Thankfully, no. I don't think I've ever seen any member of the royal family ever wearing a shell suit. Thank God. And I hope we never do. But you never know. It's the modern era, and apparently shell suits are back in fashion. So yeah, I might eat those words in the next couple of months.
I know. God help us all, honestly. Even if the Queen did have a shell suit, though, you know she'd have a matching hat to go with it. She just would.
I would hope so, and gloves, It'd have to be the full. It'd have to be the full, and handbag. It'd have to be the whole lot. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah. Now, I love the Queen. I love the royal family. I think you've probably established that now over the times that we've discussed them. However, right, and I'm going to be slightly controversial here. Robbie Williams, when he did his New Year's Eve gig in London, and he was spotted using anti-back wipes after touching some fans' hands, right?
Okay.
He had to apologise for that. Am I right in thinking the Queen is essentially doing the same thing by wearing gloves?
Do you know, the interesting thing is, we have these kind of discussions, haven't we, where these days people talk about handshakes and about do they pass on germs and bacteria, and is it safe? And my argument is we've been doing it for centuries, and luckily we're still here, so obviously it is relatively safe. But I think with the royal family, of course, the Queen and other members of the royal family are constantly going around shaking Lord knows how many thousands of hands every year, and there is this kind of tradition of wearing the gloves. Now, the gloves, I personally think that part of it could be to do with the fact that you are shaking a lot of hands, and obviously you want to make sure that you're not going to get a cold, because God forbid somebody at the Queen's age it gets a cold. It's not a great thing. So I think they're having to be a bit careful. But there is also the tradition, which is, you know, white gloves or gloves in general, were part of the kind of accessory, those fashion accessories ladies know, hats and gloves. You wouldn't be seen without them. In fact, you would be naked without them. So you would certainly wear them. And in the evening, you had the evening gloves as well. So it was all part of the kind of fashion, as well as, I think, realistically, to protect you from not catching anything nasty. And even going back centuries, you know, you could quite easily pick things up that could be quite life-threatening.
That's well, I guess there's something in that. Although these days, you know, is it still necessary? I mean, obviously, we do love the fact there's the tradition there, there's the history there, but actually, is it potentially giving off the wrong signals? Obviously, Princess Diana famously cuddled the little orphan who had AIDS as a point of saying we don't want to be kind of spreading the idea that of ways these diseases are spread. You know, is it necessary now?
Well, the good thing is the Queen doesn't always, and members of her family don't always wear gloves when they actually are meeting people. I mean, it's if she's not actually out and about, and obviously it depends what she's wearing and what she's doing. There is many images of the Queen meeting people, and she doesn't have any gloves on. So that's why I don't really think it is so much to do with that side. I don't think they're obviously that worried about it. I think it is more the kind of traditional wearing the correct thing, which obviously is a tradition that they've had for many centuries. What I teach people today is that if you are going to shake somebody's hand, always kind of think of making sure your hands are clean, because it is a bit embarrassing if you suddenly go to shake someone's hand and they've either got muck or grime or something, which we can't all help. I appreciate that. And these days, as you mentioned with Rob Williams, obviously you can get these antibacterial wipes. But I mean, I wouldn't stand there having a full hand wash in front of people, because it's a little bit, it would also worry you. You'd be thinking, what on earth is wrong with my hand, or what's wrong with their hand? So I think you have to be a little bit considerate how you do it. But I think people just a little subtle. I just say gently rub your hands on your side, if they are a little bit sweaty, which is a very common thing, and it just kind of takes off the excess sweat. But again, don't make a big thing of it, because if you stand there kind of rubbing vigorously, again, you're going to think, what on earth is wrong? You don't want to shake that person's hand because they've obviously got something. So it's just been a little bit careful.
Now, obviously, I mean, there's a lot of love for the younger royals, aren't there? And particularly,
absolutely
the joining of Kate and Will as well, and Prince Harry, a lot of love for him. And I'm just thinking as well, because the three of them were very heavily backing the kind of big campaign for this year's London Marathon, of all the mental health charities that they were all kind of a big face for, wanting people to wear the headbands as well. And actually, some of the publicity they did for that, they were in tracksuits. They were in just sports gear, weren't they? Because they were doing the running on the track and all that business. So are we loving them because they are now breaking those quite stiff traditions that probably aren't so necessary?
Well, I think, again, they've got to, as I've always said, and I'm a huge admirer and lover and lucky enough to work for the royal family, but I also realise that, as I'm sure they do, that it's the 21st century and times are changing, and it's the same throughout the centuries. Royals have obviously adapted to the times. And today, as you quite rightly mentioned, with doing the marathons and the charities involved in, they dress appropriately. Now, I think tracksuits are quite sensible, because I think we would all be a bit... Could you imagine the headlines if they were running in white tie or in full military uniform?
It would look ridiculous, wouldn't it?
It would look ridiculous, and then we'd get the wrong. Then it'll be the case of why are they so dressed up. So they've been very sensible, and they are. The younger royals are, as I'm saying, they're so approachable. They're got lovely personalities. They are generally very helpful, caring people. I mean, I've witnessed it firsthand, and it's not something that you think you just see and it doesn't really happen. It's very much them, and it's wonderful to see that they're able to use that for so much good and to help so many people.
Absolutely. And we'll continue our obsession with what they're wearing, because it's the first thing, isn't it? If you've ever been out and wanted to go and see the royal family on various visits they've been to, the first thing you want to know is, what colour is the Queen wearing? We are obsessed with it. Great to speak to Grant Harold, of course, former royal butler, an etiquette expert, of course, on the show again today. No doubt we'll be speaking to him, because we are fascinated, aren't we, by the royals, whether you love them or not.